Aloma, people out there. I just want to share my thoughts on recent events. I'm not on anyone's side. I've just been watching from the sidelines getting deja vu because I feel like I've seen this before, which means I already know how it will end. Unwarranted police brutality against a black man who usually dies as a result, while the police officer faces no charges. People get angry and protest or riot against this injustice. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Something happens to get the protests/riots to stop, usually by getting what they want, and we eventually restart this cycle at another point in time. A few times in the past, I've heard a definition of insanity that describes it as doing something over and over again, expecting a different result. This can actually be applied to both sides. If anyone were to kill a black man and not be punished, the government shouldn't be surprised that there are protesters or rioters because of it. On the other hand, doing the same thing as other protesters or rioters have done in the past for the same purpose is going to give you the same result. Pretty much nothing changing. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate what all of you are doing, and I know your hearts are in the right place. But even if we get justice for George Floyd or any of the other African Americans who were murdered, it doesn't help solve the overall problem of racism. What we're doing is being a parent telling their child to do their chores. Sure, the chores get done, but if they never learn to take the initiative, then you're gonna have to tell them to do it for the rest of their life, which doesn't actually solve the problem. So you might be asking, if protests or riots aren't going to create positive change, then what will? I asked myself that question, and it led me to another question. I wondered if it is truly possible for something or idea to be forgotten to time and never brought up again. The answer to that is no, only because we can't know about something that is supposed to be forgotten. So, then I asked myself if something or idea could just not be practiced by people anymore. That has been proven as a yes, at least for things. Like, I don't think anyone uses guillotines anymore, at least not for cutting off people's heads. And I don't think we use crosses for crucifixions anymore. But I haven't found any examples of an idea not being practiced anymore. So I guess we can be the first people that we know of to try this. This will probably be difficult since, according to the opinions of people I know regarding math, we humans don't really like to solve problems. But I propose not just to stop practicing racism, but the concept of changing our perspective of a person based on how we divide people. For example, for those watching, when you see me, who do you see first? A black man or a person? Sure, it's true that I'm a black man, but at my core, I'm a person. You might be asking, what is a person? Because not everyone sees black people as actual people. Well, two of dictionary.com's 6 definitions say, a human being as distinguished from an animal or a thing, and a self-conscious or rational being. I define a person as a human being with their own unique story to tell. I know when I have met a person because I become a part of their story, whether in a minor or a major role. People could argue that animals can have their own unique stories, and while it is true that some animals could have their own unique stories, most of them because of human interaction, by the way, most of them have the same predictable story. That's kind of how a wildlife biologist can know so much about a species while not seeing every specimen of that species. People are predictable, but to an extent, like me. For those who went to high school with me, you would expect me to say Aloma every time as my greeting. Some of you have even baited me into saying it because of how predictable it is of me. But if anyone else were to say Aloma as a greeting, then that would be a surprise because as far as I know, I'm the only one who does that often. So now that we are done with our English lesson, back to the main topic. Stop changing our perspective of a person based on how we divide people. You could see a white police officer punishing an innocent black man to the point of death. You could also see a police officer punishing an innocent man to the point of death. I see a person with their own story and upbringing punishing an innocent person with their own story, to the point of sadly ending that story. Before we are police officers, doctors, or store owners, before we are black, white, or Asian, before we are men, bisexual, or women, before we are children, adults, or elderly, we are humans. We are people. My middle school history teacher once said that America is like a melting pot of people and cultures all mixed together. But after experiencing life, specifically this year, I see it more like a Lunchables. Sure, we got diversity of people, cultures, and backgrounds, but it's segmented off from each other rather than mixed together. I especially noticed this when I saw a news article that used the term Black America. Last time I checked, there were only 3 Americas: North, South, and the United States of. Black America would imply that there is also a white America, Mexican America, and an America for every race at the least. While it may feel like that is how America is some or most of the time, if we really wanted it to be like that, then we should just break up the United States of America into sections for every race. Not recommended though, it might start a third civil war. Personally, I wouldn't want that because I would be separated from some of my friends. But I will tell you what I do want. I want to create a world where not one person needs to have fear in their heart, especially from others. I'm not striving for world peace because I think it's implausible to get there, at least permanently. But if there was a threat to any person, I would want them to not be afraid because I want to ensure them that it will be all right in the end. There would be no fear of getting shot by someone while just taking a jog. There would be no fear of someone barging into your house and shooting you, or suspecting a person of being dangerous. There would be no fear of getting assaulted by the police just because they think you could be dangerous based off of the color of your skin. That's the world I want to create. But I can't do it alone. I need your help. We don't necessarily need our government to change or do something. One of my high school history teachers said the government should be like a secretary, our secretary. They should do anything we ask of them, if they have the power to do so. But what if the secretary refuses to do their job? Well, for an actual secretary, the boss would fire them. We kind of do that, but it's every 2 to 4 years. Another option is, quoting the big purple great man himself, fine, I'll do it myself. Let's be honest here. In the case of us versus the government, we are the majority. If all of us change our perspective from one of division to one of unity, then at least most of America would be better. For my last point, I want to speak to my fellow Gen Zers. We are called Gen Z, and Z is the last letter of the alphabet. So I guess that means we're expected to end something, hopefully not the world. So let's end this perspective of division. We might even end the generational divide. But when something ends, something else must start. So, let's start a perspective of unity and an attitude of love. Maybe we, along with everyone else, can create an actual United States of America instead of a divided States of America. Plus, USA sounds a lot cooler than DSA anyway.